Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for the Driver in Deep podcast, episode 51, brought to you by drivercal.com. Mark here, and of course, occupying the driver's seat is none other than Alex Nagy. How's it going, Alex?
All good here, buddy. Thanks for asking. Hey, today we have Joel Robinson with us from Fuel Media Lab, who is a motorsports TV director, producer extraordinaire, in my view. You know, I met Joel and his dad, Jim, way back in 1994 when his dad's company started shooting CASCAR for TV. And I was thinking, could be wrong, but it made me think, actually, that you're always looking for a guest that has something on me, with no luck, of course. Mm-hmm. Lean and clean, buddy. But Joel might be your best shot. I'm not sure, but I don't know.
Well, listen, lean and clean are really not the words I would use to describe.
Well, maybe
you.
clean,
I think,
not lean.
Yeah, well, definitely not lean. But in any case, I think more like lucky you haven't been caught yet is what I was thinking of.
Yeah, well, that's what makes me nervous about Joel, because he's always got a camera and he's places where you never expect that weasel. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, hopefully he's got nothing.
Let's hope today will be different, and we do have something here. And Joel and his team have been at this for a long time, Alex. And, you know, I am kind of pumped myself to get a look on the inside of what goes on behind the scenes, because, you know, I'm a techie guy. And, you know, how they bring the viewers the product that we watch on TV, you know, or streaming. And I know that the equipment they're using is pretty crazy these days. I'm looking forward to hearing Joel tell us a little bit about the new tech.
Absolutely. And man, that equipment is expensive too. Some of the stuff they have now is crazy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. He should give our listeners a pretty cool insight from the other side. And I can tell you, he's got a ton of great info and stories too. He's seen it all, man. But you know, as you were saying, it's funny because you always think, you know, we just turn our TV on or hit a button and watch a live stream. But I don't think everybody's aware that these guys are typically the first ones at the event and last ones to leave most times. Right. Fuel Media Lab do all kinds of work, but a mainstay for them has been over the years CASCAR, and now evolved into the NASCAR series here in Canada since NASCAR took it over. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to getting them on here. But also, I was thinking, you know, were you able to catch any of the dirt action from Bristol on the weekend?
Oh, man. You know what? I have to admit, I was only able to catch the highlights, but I really wish I'd been able to catch the whole thing. You know, racing on dirt, to me, looks pretty cool. You know, it's a whole different set of challenges, obviously, from asphalt. But what I was able to see, though, Alex, you know, I really do have a hot take on things today. So are you ready to hear it?
Great. Let's have it. So you watched the highlights and you got a hot take. Let's have it.
Well, a little more than the highlights. I'd watched quite a bit of the highlights, actually, but I did not catch much of it live, just a little bit.
Gotcha.
Anyway, all the rain and the mud, I will say, wow, What a challenge. I was watching them pull some of that mud out of the grills when they went in for their pit stops. Unbelievable. I don't know how any air got through there. But anyway, here goes. I'm going to say this. I know Kryle Busch has been an ambassador of the sport for a very long time. But for someone who's driving what the cartoon-looking M&M sponsored car that certainly many kids would gravitate to, this guy is anything but a positive influence to the sport, Alex. And whether or not his comments after the race were tongue-in-cheek or not, he's a hypocrite. And I can see why so many fans of the sport dislike this guy so much.
Yeah, it's sure got you riled up, Scooter, that's for sure. But my wife would be proud of you.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
As you know, she hates
she's
Kryle
not
Busch,
a fan.
And you always make fun of her. Now all of a sudden you're sitting in her chair with her.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny. Wait till she finds
out. Well,
I
don't make fun of her for that. Maybe other things, but not for that. Oh. And no, I am clearly on her side. And listen, I'm going to say this: that I couldn't believe it when on his team radio he says that I'm better than every single one of these effers in front of me. You know, it's all lane choice. Did you hear that? Did you hear those comments?
Yeah.
And then after the race, he posted that he backed into that win. Well, no shit, he backed into the win. But what's really interesting here is that, do you remember in Las Vegas in March when Alex Bowman took the checkered flag?
I do. And listen, he's a smart guy. And I think
Alex Bowman or Kryle Busch?
Both.
Okay.
But I think in Busch's case, sometimes it is tongue in cheek because he loves to piss people off and rile them up. But the other part is he's ultra confident. And he had to say he backed into it because after he shot his mouth off about the Bowman thing.
Well, this is what I'm going to say. And I quote, this was his quote in Las Vegas. He said, that effing guy who backs into every effing win that he ever effing gets backed into another effing win. Bullshit. That was Kryle Busch's comment about Alex Bowman.
I know.
What a loser this guy is, Alex. I hope that one of those effers that he was referring to that were in front of him get a piece of him on the track this year. Because they heard it. And do you really think that these guys don't think he's an asshole too?
For sure. For sure they do.
And to top it off, after he backed into the win, he bragged about how he's a dirt dominator on Twitter. They're his words. He's a dirt dominator. Well, he might be a dirt dominator, but it's not on the track, and that's none of my business. But anyhow, it contradicts, that the other quote from the weekend where he said that dirt takes our sport backwards. Now, I don't know enough about the sport to know whether there's any truth to that or not. However, I enjoyed watching the races on dirt, and I look forward to seeing more races on dirt. But the only good thing that comes out of all of this is that, he plays the villain, or no, I prefer asshole, and like Sandy calls him. But, the fact that he's still competing and, over 4 million people watch the race in the U.S. alone. And that's great numbers for NASCAR over Easter weekend, because I know it was a bit risky to do it then. But good for NASCAR for doing it and pulling off some great numbers. But I do hope they're keeping a close eye on this guy before he paints a permanent black mark on this sport.
Well, it's been happening for years, so I'm not sure. But a couple things. I mean, you're right. 4 million viewers is awesome. And to be honest, it's kind of the norm this year for NASCAR. I think overall TV ratings are up something like 12%. So, that's due to the new car, all those things, and the racing has been substantially better. So good for them. I don't know if 4 million viewers was because it was dirt, and we'll never know that now. But, having said that, he moved the needle. And one thing for sure is that he's won 60 cup races now, and nobody else he's racing has done that.
How many did
that he's racing
into?
with?
How many did he back
Not
into?
very many. Not very many, because he's really good with the mouth, but he is a hell of a driver too. And yeah, it's funny. I think he gets away with more because of his greatness. And he, same as the dirt dominator thing. That's a bit tongue in cheek. And what he's referring to is he raced a dirt late model once and he won. He raced a little quarter midget or 600 sprint car or something, CC sprint car, and he won. And then he races at Bristol twice now and he won. So, he knows how to stir the pot, man. And it's working. Listen to you.
Yeah. Well, he might be a dirt dominator, but I'm a kart dominator then. I've never lost a race.
Fair enough. There you go. If you could get somebody to buy your bullshit, it'd work, but I don't think you can. Anyways, another important thing that was happening down there.
Yeah.
Whether you think it was a place to do it or not, I think the jury's out. But, Pinty's here in Canada has been involved through Tony Spateri's dream initially to sponsor some events at Bristol, teaming up with Food City in that area, which is awesome. Good for our sport, good for tying in Pinty's here to Pinty's down there. And I just think it's all great. But so it's probably a good spot. I don't know. It's a Canadian series. Should it have been announced in Canada with Canadian media? Maybe. But anyways, what they announced was that Pinty's 6-year deal had expired last year, and they re-up for another 5 years. So I think that's good for the sport, good for our sport, good for that series. Yeah. They've done a hell of a job.
Yeah, no question about it. I love the Pinty's brand. What they've done to that brand with, Tony there over the years has been spectacular. I mean, they came from nowhere to being dominating in the market with their product. So I think that's great. Let's just hope they stay away from KB.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. They probably can't afford them.
No.
And that's no slight to Pinty's, but
no.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes. And like you say, Kryle Busch, and there's a few other drivers that were pretty negative about the dirt race on a asphalt or a concrete track and that experiment. And whether those cars, which are very expensive and a bit of an engineering marvel, should be on a dirt track. And I don't think that's a slight to dirt, because we all know dirt is incredible. But
no, but to say if you takes the sport backwards, I mean, really?
Yeah, well, he's not the only one who said that. I mean, I think the King, Richard Petty, said that. That's where Kyle based his comment from. But yeah, I mean, there's different ways to look at it. But I'll tell you this: the young guys like Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson and a bunch of those guys that came from dirt, I didn't hear any of them say they loved it.
No.
A lot of them said the second time the track was better, it was fun, but I didn't hear any of them say, this is incredible, we got to do this 100 times a year.
Yeah.
So, read between the lines, it's going to balance somewhere out there. And
yeah,
I'll say this: I give Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, SMI, NASCAR, all the people involved credit for having the balls to try new things, because I always preach that people need to do that. But TV ratings were good, but again, they've been up all year. Fans in the stands was not good. And I guess there must be a lot of money in that deal, because how you can afford to do what they do to transform that track, and the amount of time, effort, money to make it become back to a concrete track afterwards. I don't know where the benefit is, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, everything's about money, and I'm sure that it was worthwhile, for people along the way. And let's face it too, the conditions were not good. And no. Obviously racing on dirt when it's raining makes it that much worse. So, they haven't really probably had optimal conditions. So hopefully, in the next couple of years, like you said, it balances out a little bit. But anyway, after all that, we don't have time to talk about the Sabres or the Leafs. But our guest, Joel Robinson, has been pretty vocal on Twitter, Alex, that he's now a fan of the rivalry, that we keep pointing it out. But to be fair, it really hasn't been much of a rivalry lately, with the Sabres' domination of the Leafs of late. And I know, I'm sorry. I said we weren't going to talk about
it. I'm sorry, were you saying something? Okay, a couple quick things, because I know we got to get Joel on, but yeah, I mean, we go on about the Leafs, I guess, if you want, but there's 15 other teams that are going to be in the playoffs here in another week or so that I'm looking forward to. 16 great teams, and Buffalo won't be one of them. So after this episode, there'll be nothing to talk about there. And Joel, I'm not sure he's that jacked up anymore, because like you, he's a Raptors super fan.
Yeah.
And he's probably, we're recording this on the day of the game 3 that they don't win. They're probably heading to the golf course with the Sabres. So he's probably preoccupied right now.
The Raptors have not looked good. But anyway, as far as the Sabres are concerned, I'm still going to go on the record and say that they're going to win a series before the Leafs do. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, Scooter, you're blowing off enough smoke, buddy. Enough steam, smoke, whatever it is. How about you save some for our guest, and let's get Joel on here.
Sounds good. You can find out about the great work that Fuel Media Lab does on the web at fuelmedialab.com. And here he is, the engine of Fuel Media Lab, Joel Robinson. Welcome to Driver in Deep, and thanks for joining us, Joel.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, as Mark said, Joel, thanks for joining us. I hope you and the family are doing well. I know it's been a crazy stretch for everybody. We've stayed in touch, but
wild ride, man, wild ride. So it's all good.
Yeah, it looks to be a pretty normal season coming up finally, which is great for all of us in the motorsports world anyway. And I'm sure things are ramping up for you pretty quickly.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to get off my COVID 15 or maybe 20 or 25. 'Cause, I looked at my schedule and it's pretty busy. Doing a lot of stock car racing, maybe some dirt racing, and some sports car racing. So
nice.
You know, Joel, like so many others, I'm looking forward to a full unrestricted race season here. Fingers crossed. And I know that your motorsports events have been interrupted over the past couple of years with the pandemic. And I realize it's a huge part of what Fuel Media Lab does. But can you tell us what's kept you so busy while we're getting ready for the race season this year?
Not so busy.
Yeah. I mean, when COVID hit, everyone kind of shut it down for a while. And, I was really fortunate. I got a call from Clint and Adam, and they asked me to come out and help them as they were getting G-Force set up. And I was pretty honored to work with those guys. I got my hands dirty. I was doing some wireless technology for them and just helping them out, and left at the end of the night. It was kind of nice to walk away from something and not have any huge responsibilities as the boss. And I was told what to do. And then, so it was cool. And I got to see a lot of cool dirt racing, and it was nice. I got in touch with, some people that I hadn't seen in a while, and with that deal. And then we did some NASCAR racing for a bit and kept things going. TSN got together with Pinty's and with NASCAR, and I don't know what we do, a 6-race series. And it was good. I liked it. It was fun. And, we crossed our fingers for 2021, and we got a little bit done there, and started a new series with some sports car guys. And it's hard at it right now. I've been busy since December working on things for 2022. The Pinty schedule is pretty busy, and with 13 races across country, and I've got 5 or 6 sports car races. That's a new series in Canada.
Is that the Fell series again?
Yeah, that's they had like 12, 13 cars last year, and we might have 24 this year. So it's something that's replaced touring car, and I might do some of that urban challenge racing that's been going on in Quebec with dirt modifieds.
Oh,
so
nice.
We'll see how that goes. And the Motorsport Hall of Fame keeps me very busy. So that's as Mr. Nagy's going in, I have to change his profile video constantly from his new ventures, always here and there.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about your role there at the Hall of Fame, Joe, a little bit later. But, when you were going through the things there for 2020, 21, I don't know if you found this, but, prior to Joe Cass announcing that we were closing, through that time, it seemed like I was almost as busy because you changed your plans every third day.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like you did it every third day or every week for absolutely no reason and went nowhere. And it really, I'd rather have had a crazy busy normal season than the wear and tear on your mind, just trying to wonder if you're doing it, if you're, you know what I'm talking about, because you were part of all that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm kind of in the middle of the cog. And so I've got to talk to sponsors as well. And so, you know what? That's kind of, motorsport people are like that. And, you can adapt pretty easy. And TV, kind of my group in the TV business is good at adapting. So we're kind of like fat, nerdy Marines, we just kind of go with the flow, and, you got to go with the bumps in the road and see where it takes you. Sometimes the ride's a little bit more fun, than your actual destination. So
I think he was describing us, Mark.
Yeah. We talked about that in the intro too.
Joel, thinking back to around, I think it was 94, you're working with your dad. Yeah. Your dad got the contract to shoot the CASCAR races.
Yeah.
I went to CASCAR in 93, so I was just getting my feet wet there as well. And your dad had James Robinson and Associates at the time. I'll never forget that group. And your dad's such a great guy. And at the time, you're running around working for your dad and learning a business. And it's interesting and neat now where the tables have turned a little bit, because it's not that your dad needs to learn as much or anything, but it's great that he's still around fairly often. And it's great still to see him.
Yeah, he's learning how to sit on the beach a little bit more.
Yeah, I noticed he's getting thinner. His appearances are getting thinner, but he's deserved it.
He keeps, he doesn't come to the track as much. His hearing's gone to shit because of race cars. But my dad, in his early 80s, he's got more energy than I do. So he calls me every other day asking what guys are doing. And, in 94, it was a big year. It was a big switch for business for him. We had a couple of lean years there. And then through Craig Hill, we got the CASCAR contract. And my dad asked me to come on board. I wasn't too crazy about doing TV stuff, but because I ended up going to school to get away from TV business. My whole family was in it. And while I was in school, I got a chance to tour with, as Kim Campbell became prime minister, I was hired on there, and that was my first job. So I was crisscrossing the country, and it was pretty cool. We were, following the first female prime minister, and then she didn't get elected. So,
so motorsports was great.
Yeah, it was great. And the business at that time was really different. The corporate work was furious. Like I was working 7 days a week when I was in my early 20s, and it was good. And then we started doing some CASCAR racing. My dad had some experience with stock cars with ASA at Cayuga. He used to do those Molson 200 and Molson 400 races.
I didn't know your dad was involved with that.
Yeah. In the mid 80s, I've got lots of tape on that stuff. And he was one of the first people to do onboard cameras for video. He rented one of the first video cameras that came into Canada that wedding guys were using. And I think Seneca ripped it off the wall in the back straight at Cayuga coming off his car. And my dad
found it when we were rebuilding. I found it.
I bet you did. Now you took it back to the place. He had insurance on it.
Oh, he had to return it.
No.
Fell apart.
Yeah.
It was cool that way. I grew up going to motorcycle races with my dad for years. He did this Canadian Superbike series, which was big in the 80s back then. And then we took on CASCAR in 94, and 94 was a big year. Nagy, you were going full time, I think, for the first time that year. And Kennington, Jacobs, Gibbons was coming in. Thompson hadn't come in yet, but she was.
Mix.
It was getting big.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, that was the first year you heard you had a face for radio, Alex. Anyway,
well, Alex and I have a good joke about that because he always, every time I had to move his helmet, because we had AC Delco as a sponsor, I always had to move the helmet, put the in-car camera in, and he had one sweaty helmet, man.
I've heard that before too.
I saved that helmet for you, buddy. I told you it's sitting in my cabinet, preserved.
Yeah.
If COVID has any Lysol left in the world, we need to hit that bad boy up.
Oh, yeah.
Mark asked me because I got a little plaque on it that says, "This is for Joel."
If you die, I want that.
We touched on it in our intro, and I'm one of the guys that loves the behind the scenes stuff, Joel. Can you give us an idea just how much prep work you and your team does before getting to an event and even actually to shoot the event? And I'm not sure people realize the amount of work because, for us, we just, get to hit a button and watch it.
Yeah. It's, the season's prep starts in January. That's for sure. January. And, it's kind of a slow moving, it's like a tortoise. And then when you come into April, it's going gangbusters and you're trying to fill in all those unanswered questions. So, a race takes about 100 hours of my time, from start to finish. And, if you're not, prepared, it shows once you get there on race day. So we use, a lot of the same guys. So they know the routine, and we filter guys in, new guys in. So when a guy needs to leave, we can't get anybody to leave. That's the problem. So the group just keeps getting bigger and bigger. But, guys show up on race day. We're there when the gates open. And we're there well past the race. And, by the time we're usually getting home, I'm going to bed about 3 or 4 a.m. because just prepping some video stuff for the next day. And, guys are showing up at my place and swapping drives and getting stuff done. And we're getting, video images to RDS and TSN and NASCAR and, anything they need. When Nagy was running the show back in the day, I'd get calls, they wanted to see an accident or something that happened that they needed to see really bad.
Fight.
So, it's usually fight. But, just stuff you have to make a call on. And, you always have to be at the ready. There's weeks are once May start, it's 80 to 100-hour work weeks. The families kind of understand that I'm not around that much.
So nowadays, I guess if you get a request for something, it's probably much simpler to be able to send that out over the internet to somebody. But how does that compare to what you used to have to do back when you first started?
Yeah, well, back in the day, you'd kind of adapt, and you'd send, you deliver, you drive stuff to people, or they come and meet you. You're sitting in a parking lot looking over stuff, but now I can just take an image and send it, to someone to their phone, and they can kind of get a guess of what it is. And so the technology certainly helped. You're still just telling a story. You're using the technology the best you can. Sometimes more technology isn't as good. I constantly have conversations with people that are like, hey, you can superimpose this image here and do this. And sometimes the racers, you just got to let the racers tell the story and see where it goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so many parallels in our sport, right? So whether I've never been on your side of it, but knowing your side now, especially once I started working for NASCAR, we've done so much together, from me being a driver to, me being a crew chief, and then me being the director at NASCAR, where that's when I realized how long your guys' days were. And it's funny, the parallels are all the same. Like you say, it starts in January, ramps up crazy in April, and about that time you wish you did more in January.
Totally.
But it just sneaks up on you. And but you're right, whether you're racing a car, running a show, running a racetrack, whatever it is, running a series, doing a TV or streaming or radio or whatever.
Yeah.
You're just never think you're ready. But we always get it done, right?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately my goal is to be there and to tell the story. And the guys that are running up front are always, those guys are always going to run up front, and you gotta help those guys run in at the back and pretty much talk to guys and say, hey, I saw you got a new sponsor on here. We'll give them some mentions and help everybody out, right? Because without the racers, you don't have a show. Mm-hmm. And I love going to Flamborough and watching the show instead of working. I live about 20 minutes away, and it's fun just to wander around and just watch the show.
So you're trying to bring stories to the audience, I gather, is what your goal is. But without giving away any secrets, how do you decide what to focus on during the race? You hear people all the time that say, oh, TV only shows the leaders, but I'm sure there's a process as to, what you're going to focus on and how. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I'm the producer, and we have a director, and his name's Steve Ryan, and we work together, and we have two sets of cameras, and both of those sets are on two different battles. So we follow the battles, and we follow storylines, and then we work with pit reporters to work on the storylines that they're working in the pits. So there's a third team in the pits. So you kind of got to marry all that together. And if there's a battle for fourth between three guys, I'm not going back to 18th by some guy who's running 2 laps down and running by himself. And the guys know that. Some guys don't know it right away, but eventually I have to tell them that, because, they didn't get much airtime. I'm not going off of guys that are battling side by side to talk about you if you're running an 18th and down a couple of laps, but I will talk about you for sure. And, you got to make those decisions. Some are easier, some are harder. And, I used to really struggle with those decisions, but, we're not making Gone with the Wind here. It's a new story the next week. So we just keep moseying along. So.
Well, I can tell you in your team's case, the formula works, because, you specifically do a lot more for teams, drivers, anybody behind the scenes than people know. And you can talk about that if you want. I'm not going to do, but for an example, one thing.
I'm not going to do it for an example.
Well, I know Joel goes above and beyond, and it's not for me to tell those stories. And I say that with great respect, but when you're talking about that, it made me think, when I was a crew chief, and this time in particular, I was with Ron Van Ness in Montreal. not much experience in anything, especially a fast road course like that. We were struggling. You probably seen it on my face because you're up and down pit road, and next thing I know, you nudge me and you point up at the big screen across from pit road and say, "There's your car." So I look over and yeah, there's our car being centered, front and center, getting airtime, and you pull your headset back and say, "Have a look. I can hold you on there quick, see if you can see it, pick anything up to help you guys out." You know, we weren't going to win that race. Now, is there a Tagliani after that? And maybe we were, but, you know, that's just an example of the things that you do. You didn't have to do that, but it sure helped me because Ron couldn't tell me a whole lot, but I could watch the car for, you know, I think he gave me about a half a lap or something and made a huge difference. So, you know, things like that. And, you know, there's a lot more other things. You're so invested in the sport, especially, you know, with the Pinty series where you do most of your work. So, you know, good on you guys. And I know I appreciated it and appreciated it. I appreciated this as the director at NASCAR. When you were wrapping up, again, I said in the intro, these guys were one of the last people there, I learned. But one thing you always did was drop me off a beer before you left, buddy. I appreciate that.
And if I couldn't find you, you knew where it was when I left.
Exactly. In my office. Stashed. Yep.
It was always cold. There was never any warm ones. That would have been mean if there was a warm one in there. But, you know, after a 16-hour day of burning up your ankles on the sun and, you know, just working your balls off, it's cold beer certainly helps. And yeah, I mean, one of the big things I do is I try to guys who don't normally road race like Ron was. I show them video of a guy who can road race, and that's the other thing I do, because you're not giving away any secrets. You're giving away turning points. You're giving away some shifting points. I'd rather a guy look at some video of tag racing or LP racing and have that guy come in 15th, and not blow a motor up, like miss a shift or, you know.
Yeah, or crashing people. So yeah, it's just
crashing people, over driving it down the lakeshore and going through some tires. So, you know, guys are struggling. They can come anytime. And, you know, even if a guy's struggling with sponsors, I'll give him an onboard and, you know, just say, hey, next time, you know what, hopefully this helps. Just make sure, you know, they know the value of it and they're getting it. So yeah, we all got to help each other out. And that's, you know, even through the podcast guys, you guys are having other podcasters on, and I'm working with G-Force guys. They're working with us. It's all big, happy family as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, besides the NASCAR Pinty series, which we've talked about, what other series or events have you worked on that has been the most memorable?
Man, I've done a lot. I was trying to go through my head of what racetracks I was at. I was at I couldn't remember if I was at California Speedway the other day, and I was, because I'd just done the first rallycross race ever in the U.S. for ESPN, and I was like, man, I forgot I even did that. So there's just crazy stuff. Like when I first went and did ARCA for the first time, those cars blew me away because we ran mufflers and they didn't run mufflers. And
right.
I was at Anderson, and I was at some tracks I don't even know the name of because I drove all night to do it. And we were racing in the middle of a cornfield, and that was a big deal back then. And I was kind of honing my craft doing onboard cameras. And you know what the series did for me when I first started in CASCAR was I started to develop how these certain cameras could work in certain high vibration environments. And that got me a lot of jobs with doing different things for Discovery Channel and a bunch of other companies. I've done tanks and crazy jobs with helicopters and jet fighters and wow. just wild jobs that I've even forgotten. You know, who knew that there was a tank factory in a suburban Detroit neighborhood? And
really?
We showed up and they were running the tanks up and down the street for us. Wild stuff. We did sports cars, world's famous sports cars, and these guys in New Orleans, rich guys, and they just crossed the street, went into the cop station, and they said, cops came out and said, I understand you guys need a place to do some videotaping. They went, took us to the highway and closed the highway down for us. We did runs.
Could you imagine doing that here?
Oh, geez.
You'd have to take 3 years of paperwork.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
it just goes to show you, man, life doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it's fun. And you have a beer after, and like the guy on that shoot, there was a really quiet guy. I remember him, and he owned something called a Ferrari bread truck, bread wagon. You can Google it. It's like something you might see at Peter's Klutz place once. There was one of 3 in existence, and he put it back together. He said, "I think this is worth $40 million."
Wow.
He was just a regular looking guy, and that was before they got hit with the hurricane or whatever, and hopefully that truck made it through. Wild stories. I mean, there's guys. I always found you got to be respectful because you don't know who you're talking to. A guy could be worth $40, or could be worth 40 million, and
so true.
And they're all the same. They'll all drink a beer and tell the same stories.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're missing a big one that sticks out in my mind from back in the 90s when I first met you and your dad. Body break.
Oh,
with Hal and Joanne. Come on.
Yes, I forgot you knew that. Yeah. I still talk to Hal. We talk all the time. I did a lot of body break episodes.
Those guys had a big impact on us in Canada.
It did, yeah. I did a lot of those 90-second spots, and they had a half-an-hour TV show. That killed me. That sent years off my life.
Did you not bring them to the track before? For some reason,
never at the track, no.
Okay.
No. No, Hal's not really a racing guy, but they're fun. You want to talk business, Mark, you'd like to do a good story on people making money and different kinds of businesses. There's a strange business model that works for them, and it came out of the blue.
Yeah.
And they're still doing stuff?
They are still doing stuff. They do a lot of corporate work and brand ambassadors.
Wow.
They're supposed to be doing something. I might not be able to say it, but just crazy stuff. They did a Netflix promo with somebody, and they had blood all over them, and like stuff you wouldn't think they would do. And they're having fun.
Smart.
They do very well. Let me tell you, they do very well.
You touched on CASCAR, or we all touched on CASCAR. And every time we have somebody on here that's in some fashion connected to CASCAR, the stories get rolling. But, I was thinking about it for you. I can talk about stories, a little bit about other teams, or especially our guys, but you're the guy sitting up in the cat's bird seat, and you got to watch all of us do shenanigans. And don't leave yourself out either, buddy, because you and your guys were no saints. I mean, it was a lot of fun on the road.
A lot of late nights.
CASCARs. Oh, not just CASCAR either, buddy. I mean, you've been into NASCAR stuff long enough that you've seen a bunch of pretty cool stuff in your time.
I've seen a lot. Yeah,
I'm afraid you've got some on tape.
You just got to keep it to yourself sometime, those stories. But I remember you and Doopy talking about that bar in Calgary. Like, that place was the craziest place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And you were talking about Peanuts Pub, and I remember Gibbons flying across the room, and I think he drop kicked Dilly or somebody. Who knew that Gibbons was like a black belt?
Oh,
and he was
just what he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would just tune guys right up. And he was the most interesting character. I'd love for you to get him on here. I don't know.
I sent Denise a message. I'm going to try to get him on. He's on my list. But, thinking about that. So back when I was crew chief for Van Ness, I think it was Van Ness. We're in Nova Scotia at Riverside. And if you knew Pete, Mark, I mean, one thing, hell of a racer, hell of a builder, engineering wise, innovator. But him and his crew, man, crazy. And Ranger, we're at Riverside, and him and Ranger got into it. And I'm crew chief for Van Ness. Me and Peter always got along, no issues. I was smart. And but Ranger come out of the car, and he is just yapping. And he's beside us, and then just down from him is Gibbons. And Pete gets out of his car, and he's like, whatever, man. And he just walks into his trailer. Well, Andrew, he is wired, and he's throwing stones, and I got him by the back of the fire suit. Dude, do not do that. He goes, how about, half French, half English. I'm going to. I said, buddy, do not go in there. Do not go in there. I warned him. And Andrew walked in there. About 2 seconds later, he come back out. He's leaking. Tabernacle, you were right. I tried to tell you, man. I forewarned him. It could have been worse.
From that one.
Yeah, I said, you got off lucky.
You could do hours. If you ever have Gibbons on, I'd love to come on or give you some notes, because there's certain things like they knew how to cheat like crazy. So I'll tell you, he won a race at Delaware without pitting for fuel. It was a 250. We never televised that one.
Yep.
And he had a bus carburetor on that one. It was legal. He didn't get thrown out because he found the gray area, had some weird carburetor on it. But he also knew how to get laps back by pitting.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he would
listen. We scored for ourselves and Pete because we knew he was always trying to get something on you. You had to watch him too.
I'm like, he's down 3 laps. How did he win this race at Calgary? And Peter Caddio finally figured out what he was doing. He was circling in the pits while the other guys are going twice as far around during cautions. And he'd open up, put up his helmet. I always had that A-pillar camera on him.
Yeah.
And he sawing off, eating granola bars. And
you know what? And he was so far ahead of his time on us.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest. I was fortunate because, Pete did share some info with me. We had some little ties with GM sponsorship. So he was kind, but not everything. But he was, as you know, he moved down south at that time and was kind of racing from his shop in Mooresville for the most part. And at that time, those guys down there were so far ahead of us and have gone through so much that he was exposed to stuff that we only dreamt of. And he brought it back here and applied it. And, he made us all better, I'll tell you. And, he's quite a guy.
We, Steve and I hauled down there to watch a race. It was Rockingham. And we stayed at his place, and Damon was still working for him. We were there a day early. He's like, while you're here, you better go to work. We peeled off the whole side of his trailer decal. It was like 10 degrees out, so we had to get it in the sun. Peeled out decals, and then Damon took us to this hillbilly. Have you ever been to the bar in the middle of it? It doesn't exist. It's in the hills, and you have to use wooden tokens to pay your beer. I didn't even know where I was. I was in redneck. It was wild, but.
Well, if Pete sent you, it must have been cheap.
Oh, Pete didn't send it. Damon did. He just needed to get underneath.
Gotcha.
For a bit. So, but yeah, wild guys. I mean, yeah, lots of stories, and half of them were in the back field of Cayuga there when Cayuga was just barely holding on, and and CASCAR didn't do well either. There was 4 years there where Tony just mortgaged everything to a tilt. And,
sponsorship changes or losses, and
some guys really helped them out.
Everybody transitioned at that time, Joel. Cayuga, and not just Cayuga, other racetracks, other series, and CASCAR, Budweiser. I mean, Budweiser, alcohol, beer, and tobacco.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the NASCAR story. When things are going so great, all they were worried about is building seats and not customers. And now all of a sudden they're taking seats down and trying to find customers, and we're all guilty of that. Right. And that's the same thing that happened with so many different entities in the sport. So great, so easy. Those guys had more money to spend than we could ever spend. I say we because we're all in the business. And next thing you know, you're standing there with your pants down.
Yeah. Crazy. It's and we've seen so much transition. It's like, this is my 29th year, and I'm just like, it's insane. But you know what? I could still text guys. I texted Doopy when his dad died, and I hadn't talked to that guy in 15 years, Or when we see Whit, when I saw Whit at one of the APC races, I was like, oh, just hug the man, because, just shared so many stories. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, there's some more Calgary stories with Whit and, Dilly's guys and stuff, just like stuff you think you never see before. And it's just like you learn, I learned from all those guys. I learned from everybody, and you just learn how to try to be a good person and do your job and do as well as you can. Right. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah. The jury's still out on Alex there, and I didn't hear any stories about him again today. So I'm assuming he got to you first.
Well, I didn't have a lot of Alex stories. I can tell you that. I was trying to think of something today. I know he had more stories either in between CASCAR and NASCAR, and I didn't see him too much when he was doing Legends and all that stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about innovation earlier, and as you know, and our listeners know, sometimes Alex and I talk a little bit about disc golf. And last weekend, they had the first disc golf major championship, which just happened to be in Augusta, Georgia. And I was watching it on the Disc Golf Network on TV, which is has been around.
Hold on. There's a Disc Golf Network now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
that's cool.
It is. It's very cool. And there's several companies actually that that do broadcasting, but the Disc Golf Network does a lot of live broadcasting, and we're able to watch the tournament live. And watching that, the sport is growing quite rapidly. There's over 200,000 members now of just annual membership fee just to be part of disc golf. But one of the things I noticed during the broadcast was that, depending on the camera, there'd be some choppiness or sometimes a little buffering, and it wasn't perfect. And you can imagine the setting out there. They're in a wooded course and so on. It's not like they have the money to be bringing in expensive satellite trucks and of the sorts. And, and then I come across a press release from your company that you're using these new IP transmitters. I think they're called DeHero. Is that right?
DeHeros.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, if the Disc Golf Network knew about this, or maybe they do.
They do.
Yeah. They, to me, I thought, what a great way to be able to broadcast live and, make sure you don't lose your signal, because that obviously is a problem. And when it's a major event like that, the worst thing that can happen is for you to have dropouts and so on. And I understand you've been using this technology. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works for you, how long you've been using it, and, what the benefits are?
So DeGero is actually a Canadian company. They're out of Kitchener, and they build backpacks. Their main source is backpacks. They've taken out the city TV van satellite dish, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
CHCH used to have all those. You don't need those anymore.
Wow.
Camera person goes out with a backpack. They can. So there's a couple of ways it works. It works off of cellular networks. There's cell cards in it, and you plug your video feed in there, and it compresses the video to send. If you have a good cell network, this is what we always ran into at CASCAR. So I always need to mix that with some Wi-Fi, and we were always struggling with Wi-Fi there. So we'd turn things on and then kind of cross our fingers, and hopefully everything works. So everything. You can have that backpack, but if you don't have any Wi-Fi or cell service, that backpack won't exist. So they might be using those for your disc golf, and it just might have been a bad cell area. Mm-hmm. So there's ways you can do it. Now there's a way. There's another Canadian company that I use where they have a cell truck. It's a minivan, and they pull an internet signal from their home base and then create a Wi-Fi network where there wasn't any Wi-Fi. So they'll create you a bubble. Mm-hmm. So then you can pull internet off of there. So technology is crazy. Just, first you got to have the people that understand the technology can make it work. So it's great. I can send a signal, but someone's got to be on the other end to work the signal and to do it. And there's a whole team that does that. So we use the DeGeros all the time. We use it. Actually, Alex, we interviewed you. I know when you were running Jacasa, we were doing those kind of Facebook Live deals where Todd was running around or Gabe was running around, and it works great. They're basically 10-pound backpacks, and you should see when you go on an airplane with one of those, the looks you get from security.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So do you buy them, Joel, or do you rent or lease them?
We rent them. We rent them by the day, and it kind of comes with the service. And I keep it for the summer because we use it so much. But we did those first APC streams were all done through DeGero. I think I was the first one to do those APC streams from your track, and it might have been 18 we were doing them.
Yes.
So it's great technology. Just it takes a lot it takes crew, it takes people, technicians, and I can kind of. I'm not great at one thing. I'm kind of okay at a bunch of things, and that's my job. I kind of manage and make sure everyone's where they need to be.
Yeah, it's pretty cool technology though, and I can just imagine where things are going to go pretty soon. You know, it'll be an afterthought. You know, the fact that there'll just be internet everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if Mr. Tesla gets those units that he's got everywhere, and you can move them around, that's the goal. You know, Starlink. And right now you need to set it up to an address, but his goal in the end is to have it in cars. So you don't need that address. So they'll be more mobile. He needed to do all these beta testing. We're running an issue right now. I be honest, we're going to Newfoundland. There's very little internet at the track. Alex has been there, and it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell service, and we need to have so much to get the signal up. And I know I'm going to have an issue. I have to go there to check things out and do a test. So,
yeah. So, Joel, you were just at Bristol last week. You spent some time there. We talked earlier in the show, in the intro, about Pinty re-upping for 5 years, which is great. And
great deal, yeah.
I just wondered if, while you're down there, if you're able to nose a little bit around and catch some ideas or see how those folks are doing the dirt stuff down there with us weekend coming up, and you're going to be your first ever dirt event. Well, I shouldn't say that because you've done some rallycross stuff too, I think. So
I've done rallycross.
Probably totally foreign to you, but were you able to take in any of that stuff, that part of it, the tech side?
Yeah, the tech side, I kind of look where I can't put stuff and where I can, and you kind of gotta, I don't know, first year's always fun. You kind of do stuff and you say, let's try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, you know, the one time Clinton had us come to Oswego to do a race, and we tried to use the drone. We tried to help him out with some drone stuff, and dust was just too thick. Like, it was gumming up the drone part. So I know that I can only we got to figure out where to put the drone upwind,
right,
not downwind, and just keep them doing that. There's little things. And I was there for the truck race. I was there for the announcement and LP's third ring ceremony, just there to kind of, you know, make sure everything went smooth and to be a representative for TSN. And I looked at I got a lot of text messages from drivers because they knew I was down there. So I was sending back a lot of photos of grills. So, you know, different guys are doing stuff with different grills, and met up with Brad Moran there for 5 minutes. He was evil eyeing some fuel stuff that he had to change, and he was making sure it all got done. And he saw me, and it was like, serious Brad went to, holy crap, Joel, what are you doing here? So we laughed at some old Barrie Speedway jokes, and I told him he made probably the most money he ever made running Barrie Speedway, because, man, I counted a lot of zeros when we used to run there with CASCAR and early days of NASCAR.
Yeah.
We sold a lot of beer and pretzels and seats, and he did well back then. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good to see. I saw Decker, you know, Haley Deegan's deal is really weird there. I'm not sure what's going on, but I know she had a lot of security there with her, and I think everybody just had a good time. And I saw the television numbers; they were huge, even for the trucks. Like, what was up 83%? I saw today.
Yeah, well, the cars were like 4 mil, but like I said to Mark, 4 mil's been the normal this year though for all Cup stuff.
Yeah,
except for Daytona, it was like 9 mil. So I think overall they're up 12% or so. So, you know, I don't know if we'll know if it's because of dirt or not, but
yeah.
Anyways,
they got to get
those. Is still good.
They got to get the cost down on those cars. I was talking to one of the car owners, and they're like $500,000 in the car.
Oh, but you know, they all drank the Kool-Aid and said it was going to be cheaper, and now they're saying no. So I don't know. It's crazy. They're an engineering marvel, that's for sure. Those Cup cars.
Yeah, and I guess they're looking for guys too. I thought with these cars they weren't going to need as many guys, and now shops don't have enough guys because they don't have enough.
Well,
guys, right?
I think what's happened behind the scenes, and not a lot of people know publicly, is that there's been a lot of, like anything new, a lot of issues, and that they've allowed teams to do some of the issue fixing where they wouldn't have had to before because they thought they had it covered. And I think that's been bringing people back in now, because now, you know, they've been allowed to do this or that. And it's just, you know, it's evolution, right? But
yeah, I look at our 13th race schedule, and I've got other stuff going on, but man, I couldn't do that grind. That 36 weeks or whatever it is. It's crazy, man. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it for 40 years, not 4.
Yeah.
So. But it's a drug. I mean, racing's a drug. It's crazy.
Is it?
You know.
Yeah. Hey, Joel, you're involved with many different things, but one of the other things you're involved with is the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame. Can you tell us, what exactly is your involvement and how rewarding has this been for you?
I came in 2015. I think I was asked to do some video work for them, and they had a video person there that was kind of doing it part-time, and I came in and kind of reorganized things and did all their video work and ran their gala for them. And once you're kind of behind the scenes running the gala as a video person, you're kind of running the gala. I didn't think I'd be doing everything. And then after that, they invited me to be part of the board. So we have a 15 person board. It's made up of industry people. There's people that have their niches. Mine's video. Greg McPherson's been one of the newer people involved coming to the board. His tech skills and writing skills have been very helpful. We're the kind of young bucks on the Hall of Fame, unfortunately. But and then even the Norris McDonald's, and we have three women on the board now. One
Joan Rui,
Joan. And a new lady from the West Coast. We've never had someone from the West Coast on. And so it's been busy, and we've invited a couple new people in. We have some financial people. So because we got to keep the board going. It's a charity. So it's busy. It's, May starts with induction. People doing nominations. Sorry. And then we have a on-track experience that we try to raise some money through. And then we have a gala. And normally everything worked real flowing, but because of the auto show going down, we've really been hit with not having a gala. And this year we're having a gala. We're going to be inducting 30 plus people. So it's on the 28th of May, and it's busy, especially in the middle of race season. I wasn't expecting that. So I'm actually going to do some work tonight on it. So there's always lots to do.
Yeah, it'll be crazy busy for you folks this year, of course, because you're honoring 2 classes of inductees.
Yeah.
And I don't care how busy it is. I feel pretty fortunate to be part of it this year, so I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Cool deal. You're going in with some of your buddies, and
fortunate. Yeah.
I hope you guys do that deal on the 27th at Delaware. Hopefully that goes through.
Yeah, looks, old Rompin' Ronnie's got some stuff organized there to have a Hall of Fame night at Delaware, and hopefully we can get him on the mic there and call some racing. And
there's some stories there. Cool. I know you guys interviewed him, but there's some wild stories there. He used to work for me. He used to do early days either of NASCAR or the late CASCAR, and he was living in BC, northern BC.
Right.
He would fly across the country all night, do the voiceover for 2 hours, and then fly home. And crazy. He took a bus home once from Montreal because it was $20 cheaper or whatever. And if you can imagine taking the Greyhound to northern BC from Montreal, you had a good story there. So
wow.
No. Couldn't imagine taking it from Northern Ontario. Hey, before we get you out of here, we do rapid fire quick.
Yep.
I got to ask you, buddy. You and Mark have a lot in common. I don't know if you heard the last episode, but I joked maybe not joked, but I said how you and Mark have more team merch than the Fanatics tents. And Mark being a Sabres super fan, you're a Raptors super fan. You got your daughter into it, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're recording this on a Wednesday, and Game 3 is going tonight. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling optimistic. I'm glad they made the playoffs. You know what? I tell you, I've had more fun watching this team this year than I did in the 19 season when they won the championship. It's just a grittier, non-superstar kind of team that works hard, and I'm proud to be a fan. I've watched them since they first started. So,
well, they're the last team to bring Toronto a championship, and could be for a while.
Here we go.
Well, that's okay. Buffalo will get a champion at some point too. So as you know, that's the signal, Joel, for rapid fire.
Okay.
And just quickly.
No testing.
kind of different, having a
Yeah.
TV producer on. I mean, what do we ask
I had
you?
to change the
What your
questions.
favorite race car was? I mean, holy smokes, man. So, but you know the deal. We'll say something or ask a question, just respond quickly. And are you ready to rock?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. The craziest race you've ever shot.
Barrie Speedway. DJ put Thompson into the fence, and there was multiple fights in the infield. Thompson's guys were destroying other guys, and I remember pounding one of Thompson's guys who's still on the Lacroix team in the head, trying to get him to unlock this guy's neck, and because his eyes were bulging out. It was insane. I don't even know if that was CASCAR or not. It had to have been CASCAR. Yeah.
I'm going to change my next question because you just made me think of something. Tell me, is Kevin Lacroix the new Kerry Mix?
No, because he doesn't phone on Mondays and apologize. Kevin does not apologize. And he has a memory. Mixie's, I would say he's very close. These guys' memories are insane. I will say, why are you mad at that guy? Oh, in 2016, I was in fourth and he wrecked me. He didn't wreck me, but he became fourth. I'm just like, memories. These guys can't let things go. I love it. It's great.
Any superstitions getting prepped for a shoot?
No. I always go with my gut. Go with your first reaction. Yeah. No superstition.
Favorite race event you have ever been part of?
Some of the indies were really cool. Edmonton Indy was cool. Riverside, I love Riverside. I've seen like the Delawares and the Cayugas. I've just been doing so many of them nonstop. New Hampshire was really cool. That's kind of NASCAR-y stuff. I've done a lot of other stuff, and I did the Toyota Celebrity Race at Long Beach for 10 years.
Right.
Awesome event. It was a 20-minute race that I worked really hard on for 10 years and met a lot of cool people. I just watched the Tony Hawk documentary on Crave, and he was one of the racers, and I was more excited to see him than any of the big movie stars that used to watch. I'm sure I'll remember a different one when we hang up, but yeah. Oh, and Nagy winning all the money in New Brunswick, that one.
There you go.
Well, he needed it to get home, right?
Exactly.
You're up, Alex.
Favorite band or group?
I'm 51 and I'm still going to punk rock shows, so that's weird.
No, it's not.
Favorite band or group? I'm going to say I always wish I saw The Clash live, but there's a band called Fugazi that I love.
I've heard of them. I don't know if I know their music.
Yeah.
Most famous person you've ever worked with?
Probably from Long Beach.
Yeah, there was a lot through the Long Beach, but I have a story. I'm a fan. I met Nicole Kidman doing some Entertainment Tonight stuff. I always used to do the film festival, and we interviewed Nicole Kidman, and I had my one and only panic attack while we were interviewing her. And I was shooting camera and for Entertainment Tonight, and I literally felt like I lost 25 pounds, and it was for that movie Cold Mountain. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
I think that might have been the year that 9/11 happened too, and we were shooting. It was film festival was when 9/11 happened, and it was the oddest experience I ever had in my life.
As long as it wasn't Brokeback Mountain, I'm good.
No, it was not. No.
Is there anything that you haven't worked on or shot that you would like to still?
I don't think so. I think there's always stuff I figure I want to work on. Then I'm like, that's too much work. I kind of got it. I worked on everything when I first started, and then I realized what I wanted to do.
And you don't want to do that again. One thing you realize, you don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I didn't want to go the film route, so I did more commercials and corporate work. Better money.
Alex, you ask the next question. It's more appropriate.
Sure. Beer or whiskey?
Beer. mess
I
on
knew
with.
the answer. I knew the answer.
Late night rye, and it's just never good.
I know.
That's what Mark says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fighting.
I learned
I'm
my
not a good
lesson,
fighter.
especially if your
I'm a
brother
good
and
runner.
you
I'm
are
a
together.
wicked runner, but I don't know how good I am at running on rye.
Is there anything you'd like to see changed in motorsports?
Well, that's a good question. I always say we're kind of dealing with a 1950s form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of an old school. It's kind of like bowling. It's kind of like shooting pool, and everyone has fun doing that stuff. And I think there's a renaissance going on right now. I think things are looking really good for the sport.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see anyone do bad. And I think things are looking good out west. We did some Western races last year with RS1.
Right.
And Seabert's kind of got his thumb on everything out there. I don't know if it's what's going on, but something's going on. And I just
well, the West needed that.
I try to get the prices down. I mean, it's still, but I don't think they can because people want to get paid.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to get paid for what they think they're worth or what they're worth, but I mean, if more people could do the sport, I'd love to see more people being able. I would love to see an APC Pinty's race on the same night. There you go. That's my goal in life.
That's what you like to see.
Yeah, I don't care who headlines. I don't think there should be a headliner. I think it should be a duel. We can do it with big late model races in Quebec. I don't know why we can't do it here.
Good one. Any hobbies outside of racing?
Not very many.
Raptors.
I hate golf. Yeah, I'm not.
Well, we'll have to take you disc golf, and you'll like it.
I don't have a lot of hobbies. I'm very.
Buddy, you like to go for
when I
walks
get older.
with the dog down the trails at home?
I walk my dog a lot. I have a great game. If anyone follows me on Instagram, I have to go pick up his poop in the backyard because it's spring. But,
we'll have to get you out. You'll like it. It's outdoors through the bush.
Okay, well,
I don't snowmobile. I don't do a lot of. I kind of just work. I really enjoy my job, so I'm one of the few people doing it full time. I'm trying to make a living at it, and hopefully I can keep going.
Well, I have one last question that's completely related to that. Then my daughter just got accepted into the TV and film program at Sheridan, 4-year program. So, any advice that you can give her?
Yeah, ask questions. Don't if you know that if you're not sure how to do something, ask questions. Don't do it, and that's with any job. Don't think you know what's right. If you got some kind of inkling that something's not right, ask. I'll hire someone with a good head on their shoulders and no TV skills over someone that thinks they know everything.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well,
yeah, we'll get you out of here. Listen, that's been another episode of Driver in Deep. Thanks everybody for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, best of luck, Joel. We look forward to watching your work again this season.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. I listen to all the episodes.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
We're wide open sideways.
All right, you're clear.
Talk is cheap.
You're clear on that.
Got the foot to the floor. There's only driver in